Hello and welcome back to another episode of Come Over for Dinner. I am so glad you're joining me today. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Caroline Landis. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. She is a college graduate. She works and she is single and she hosts as a single young lady. And so we're going to hear a little bit about that today, how she does that, what it looks like in her home. So Caroline, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm the oldest of 5 kids. We're from Indiana. My mom homeschooled us all. So I grew up in a family where basically every meal was home cooked by my mom. So my standard was pretty high from a young age.
I can imagine.
Yes. And my brother's been on the podcast. He's talked about her cooking.
Yes, she is sister to George Landis, for those of you who heard his episode. And I'm sure Caroline would set the record straight about the cinnamon roll and pizza cook-offs. You know, he mentioned that. And
yes.
He thought he might be the champion. But
I heard.
You might.
In his dreams.
You might be the top dog.
I'm the oldest. I've been doing it for the longest.
So you have the street cred.
Say that.
You know, I still am ready to be a judge, you know, one of those, like a blind taste test. I will sacrifice my time and come and officially judge y'all's cook-off.
Well, I think George said to be part of a pizza cook-off, you have to participate. So
well,
I'm just going to remind you of that.
As long as I get to try all of y'all's stuff.
Yeah.
So family of 5, mom did tons of home cooking.
Yes, she did.
You learned a ton of home cooking from her.
I learned the basics. I actually didn't learn a lot of cooking at home. The younger ones did. I learned how to clean up. So I didn't really like cooking. And my mom was so good at it and she was fast. She had it down to a science. So she would do the cooking and then I would be happy to not cook and just clean up after her.
So it was a match made in heaven.
Yes. And to this day, if I go over and she's made a meal, I'm happy to clean up after her as long as I got to enjoy her cooking.
Yes. What a treat.
Yes. So that's where I come from. Went to college in Indiana for a year, came out here to Idaho to finish up my college career. Now I work full time and I volunteer part time and I live with one of my sisters and the other sister is currently in college. And so a big portion of our hospitality is having her over once a week. So we call it Sisters Dinner.
That's so fun.
When she's a sophomore in college, but when she started her freshman year, the sister that I live with, Laura Beth, she and I decided, okay, once a week, we want to have Isabel over just to make sure she eats a good meal once a week, hear about all the college doings. Just kind of be present in her life and make sure she has a good meal once a week. So
yes.
we've been doing that now for 2 years. And that is... yeah, that's the main portion of our hospitality. So it's mainly Isabel. We've got another friend from Indiana who's a freshman in college out here now. And so she's joined the weekly dinner. And then every so often we'll open up and invite other people as well, like maybe other family members, maybe other college girls, or just somebody that we wanted to have over. And so we'll add them to the sisters' dinner and just kind of make a little extra food that week.
Oh, that's such fun. And the girl from Indiana to be able to move straight into a family environment, you know, just being invited over to a friend's house and, you know, already welcome from, you know, old Indiana friends.
Yes. The Hoosiers get together still.
I love it. So what is the favorite menu you might choose to serve for dinner?
Yeah. So first of all, I break the rule of I make brand new recipes for the first time when I have people over. So
your sisters don't mind, I'm sure.
No, they're the test subjects. But I do have a few that I come back to. And one of them, I discovered this recipe a few years ago. It's a lemon chicken artichoke soup.
That sounds incredible.
It is. I rotate through recipes. I get bored, but that is one that I keep coming back to. And it's so comforting. You know, there's nothing like a chicken soup, but it's with the lemon and the artichoke, it's got this lightness to it. And so you want it in the springtime and the summer and the winter. It's just always good.
Yeah. When you were saying the beginning part of it, I thought you were going to say something about lemon chicken artichoke over rice or something, but a soup is so interesting.
Mm-hmm. And it makes a ton, so you can feed a lot of people and have leftovers, which I'm a huge fan of leftovers.
Love leftovers. Don't have to cook the next day.
Nope.
Or clean up if you did the day before.
Right, and you can send a bowl home with the college girls so they have lunch the next day.
Priceless.
So that's a favorite. And I'm a big fan of like one pot dinners. So I don't like getting into all the sides. I like one dish and it's fully balanced and it's filling and we're good to go.
Yes.
So that is it can stand alone, but sometimes I'll add bread to it. So, maybe buy bread, maybe make bread.
Are you a bread baker?
I've dabbled. Not really. So my youngest sister, Isabel, who's in college, she's the baker of the family. So sometimes she's brought bread. I'm like, well, I'll make the soup if you bring the bread.
Yes.
Okay, deal. But that, soup and bread, match made in heaven, always works well.
For sure.
And then I was talking to my sister, Laura Beth, who I live with, as I was thinking about, what should I talk to Bess about on this podcast episode? And she said, well, you like making sorbet, and I don't know anybody else who really does that. And I was like, that's true. I do like making sorbet.
And we do not have a sorbet recipe posted yet.
Well, you will today.
I want to hear about this sorbet. My daughter loves gelato, sorbet, that sort of thing, versus ice cream. That's her favorite.
Yes. So, it kind of got started it was a summer or two ago. My dad went to Costco, and they had ice cream makers on sale. And so he just up and bought me one randomly. So I got a surprise gift that week. He gave me an ice cream maker.
Gift?
Well, I think your sister Ruth inspired it because she was really into making ice cream that summer.
She makes delicious batches all the time.
Yes. And so she had our family over and we'd sampled some of her ice cream, which was out of this world. And then I think that was in my dad's mind. He thought, well, Caroline can make us ice cream.
Hey, Caroline, when you come over, it's your job to bring the ice cream.
So
here's an ice cream maker.
Yeah. Which, great, sure, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's great. That's a great tip.
Yes. But the thing about making ice cream is you have to plan so far ahead. Mm-hmm. And I am not that great at planning that far. Like, you have to plan days in ahead. You have to put the drum in the freezer 24 to 48 hours before you need it. And you have to make the base 24 hours before you need it. And then you have to churn it for a while and then freeze that overnight. So it ends up being like a 4-day process. And so last summer, I really wanted some, ice cream, but I hadn't planned ahead. And I kind of Googled around and I figured out you can blend and even churn if you want to use your ice cream maker, but you can blend up frozen fruit and churn it if you want to. You don't have to. And then freeze it for about 20 minutes. It's really good.
So do you add anything besides frozen fruit? Like sweetener or what else do you do to it?
Sometimes. So I found about 3 different sorbet recipes online that I tinkered with last summer. But my favorite one is sort of a frozen mango base. You add a little bit of lime. I think this particular recipe, you can add sweetener. I've done honey, I've done sugar, but this one uses dates. So that adds a little bit of that structure to it, makes it a little more ice creamy, a little more sherbet-y. But the real beautiful thing about this particular mango sorbet is you add a little bit of minced rosemary to it.
That sounds like an amazing flavor combination.
I was skeptical. I was reading this recipe. I thought, rosemary, really? But I chopped it up. I added it, and that was Laura Beth's favorite recipe of the summer. Yes.
Thing.
So if you make sorbet, add some rosemary to it.
Okay. Well, I will definitely post this recipe because the spring and summer on the horizon are already here. Spring is here. We need to try this.
Yes, you do. And it's so easy. Like, I enjoyed making ice cream, but sorbet, you don't even need an ice cream maker. You can just, if you got a blender, if you got a food processor, frozen fruit, add in the extra stuff, freeze it for 20 minutes.
And very healthy too.
Yes,
a healthy snack. A lot of people do smoothies in the summertime. I mean,
and this is just like an elevated dessert smoothie.
Yes. It sounds like something you could easily serve for dessert.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever on the fly.
Oh, yes. And we've served it. We've got some friends with some dietary restrictions. And, if somebody can't have dairy or if they can't have sugar, we can still have a sweet dessert treat that isn't, that fits within a lot of dietary restrictions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that sounds like a complete menu to me. And you've mentioned some shortcuts. With the soup, do you make it ahead of time or do you make it right before?
I typically make it right before because it makes a big pot. So, you have to clear out your fridge if you want to make it before.
But it's not necessary. It's pretty easy to make right before people come over.
Yeah. I figured out a few shortcuts. It was a different soup recipe that I tried a while back, but that recipe said just throw all of your veggies in the food processor and chop them up that way. And I thought, I'm just going to do this for every recipe.
Did it work out really, really well?
It did, because you can make them, as fine. You can make your veggie chunks as fine or as large as you want. They're not going to be, perfect little cubes, but I don't care.
Yeah, it's going into a soup anyway.
Yeah, we're going to be eating it in a few minutes.
Exactly. Oh, my word. Okay, that sounds amazing. Have you ever tried Pioneer Woman's blackberry chip ice cream?
Oh, no.
Okay, so if you think, well, I do love ice cream and I want a really good summertime recipe, our family favorite, like by far, must have summer ice cream it's called blackberry chip ice cream. And it's probably on the Pioneer Woman's website. It's also on Food Network. It's incredible. It's just, and summertime blackberries, when they're just ripe and sweet, it's just a must make.
So this is an ice cream I should plan ahead to make.
This is definitely worth planning ahead to make.
Right.
Because I prefer, all homemade ice cream is good, but I prefer it to have something in it. It's not just, just say a plain vanilla or plain chocolate. My favorite is if it has some kind of chunks in it. Chocolate.
Yes.
Chocolate is really what I'm saying here. Chocolate chunks. So this is a blackberry ice cream. And at the end, you do stir in chopped up semi-sweet chocolate, and it's delicious. It's a must try. So plan ahead this summer.
Okay.
You have to try that one.
Okay. Well, and this is related to Ruth as well. When my dad bought me the ice cream maker, he bought me the Salt and Straw ice cream cookbook because Ruth had recommended it. And she'd made, I think, a lavender ice cream from that cookbook, which my family still talks about. That was like 2 years ago that we had that. We still talk about it.
It's legendary.
Yes, but he bought me that. And so that's where I've kind of learned about, the different kind of bases that you can make for your ice creams and the different kind of mix-ins and toppings that you can add. And
unique flavors. Because sometimes when people are talking about ice cream at the beginning, they're thinking, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, just real basic flavors. But Salt and Straw is a company, I went there in Oregon. They might be in other places as well, but in Portland. And they have lots of different flavor combinations, and they do it seasonally, so their menu changes. So in the summertime, you might have something strawberry and mango and, that sort of thing. And in other times, there might be something more seasonal. But they do have, I know I've had honey lavender, and that may be what she made. They do have a cookbook, Salt and Straw ice cream cookbook. I'm not sure if there's a little bit different title. But yeah, they have like strawberry honey balsamic with black pepper, something with olive oil. There's a pear and blue cheese. It's just really unique flavor combinations. So
it's so good.
Worth trying. And then they have, more of the ones that you would maybe, like chocolate gooey brownie or something,
The more expected.
The more expected, but then some that are surprising. So that's a great tip too, if you want to try ice cream. Because I'm sure their cookbook has the, like you said, a base. And then you just kind of play with the flavors that you want to create.
Right.
What is your best prep tip for having people over? Like, do you look at a particular spot for cooking inspiration? Or do you think about a certain thing when you're shopping or cleaning? How do you prepare?
Big fan of simple one-pot meals. But when I'm getting ready to have people over, it's really nice because I live with my sister and we kind of tag team the hospitality. So if one of us is cooking, the other of us will be on the tidy up, clean track. And so I cook most of the time, but sometimes she'll cook and then I'll be the one who's, tidying up, setting the table, that kind of thing. So it's really nice to have a teammate or a partner in that. You feel like, okay, I've got one thing taken care of. You're taking care of the other. Good. But when I think about like getting ready to have people over, I think it's really nice to have like a clean house. That's how my mom was always very careful. Like, let's make sure the house is clean and welcoming for people. So I do try to have a clean house. I'm not a super stickler about everything must be pristine. But if I care about one thing, it is if the bathroom's clean. It's like
good point.
Yes, like the pillows don't have to be fluffed, the floors don't have to be vacuumed, but I'd like the bathroom to be clean. Yes. So if we're doing one thing, it's that.
You're making sure that that looks fresh.
Because that you want people to be in the mood to eat, not
be grossed out because of your bathroom.
Yes. So that's priority number one aside from the food. And if you get the trash emptied and things wiped down and sanitized and a fresh towel, a candle is really nice. So if that is the one and only cleaning job that gets done, I'm happy.
That's the one that you race to do.
Yes.
What is your best advice for showing warm hospitality to those coming into your home? How do you make them feel welcome besides a clean bathroom? So most of the people that I have are, probably college students, college age people. So I want them to feel that they have a place that feels comforting and restful because, college life is pretty stressful. And so I want them to feel like they can just kind of relax for a little bit, like with my sister and our Indiana friend, that they can kind of just come in, dump their backpacks by the door. So, I don't make them help me out much. Now, occasionally my sister will. She'll see I'm running behind and she'll jump in. But, I think having candles burning, having things as already prepped as much as possible so that the college students can just come in and sit down and have a warm bowl of soup or something. So I guess as prepped and unstressed as I can be before they get there is so that they can leave their stress at the door and not think, oh, there's more that I have to be doing. Yes. And if you're prepared, almost ready to serve, then you can actually stop working, sit down, enjoy hearing their conversation, and kind of be a part of whatever they're talking about.
Yeah, right, so I guess my tip is have a great sister and roommate who helps you get ready so you're running on time.
Yes, throughout the years when Ruth and I would visit each other across country for most of our lives, she would be there and I would turn around and all of it, the kitchen's clean because the whole time I'm cooking for my kids and her kids. And she was helping as well. But, usually it ended up like that. If it was my house and I had all the plans and I was throwing things in a pot, she would just be working on the dishes. And I remember thinking, oh, that is so nice. I wish I had this all the time.
Yes.
When you're a mom and doing it all by yourself, well, kids can help, but
once they're old enough.
When they're old enough. But yes, having a sister there to do the backup work while you turn around and the kitchen's clean and all you have to do is set hot dinner on the table and it's pretty much done at the end of the dinner. It's pretty amazing.
It is. And we tag team like the cooking and cleaning, but we also tag team. Like if one of us is still cooking, something's still on the stove, the other of us will often be the one to open the door, welcome people in, start chit-chatting. So we share those duties as well.
What is your must-have kitchen item and where can I find it?
So I have one of those digital thermometers that you can stick in food and see what temperature it is. Well, mine broke recently, so I need to get a new one. But I think you can get it off of Amazon or Walmart or Bed Bath & Beyond or basically anywhere that sells kitchen stuff. But that is so helpful to me because I remember when I first started cooking in college being very intimidated, especially by cooking meats, like, oh, what if I get sick? And that's just so handy to have just to test that things are done. So I know a lot of college students that I've had over, they are also intimidated to cook meat. And so they don't. And I'm wondering, how are you getting protein? And so I'm always recommending, get one of those. They're like $12 or less. And then that just takes away kind of the fear and mystery of, is this done? Because you can Google what temperature should pork or beef or
Yes.
chicken, what temperature should this be? And then you don't have any questions left. You know that it's done.
And a lot of times those digital thermometers have it listed on there. It
Yes,
has
that's
like
true.
the beef, pork, chicken, or maybe it comes with a manual or something.
That's true.
But it's very easy to Google in case you don't keep up with it. But sometimes it's actually written on the thermometer.
Which, yeah, even better. So that's something that's given me a lot of confidence as I've learned more about cooking in the last 5 years. It was after college that I really got into cooking, and that was a huge help. So if anybody out there is intimidated to cook, especially with meat, just get one of those thermometers and you won't have those questions anymore. It'll put your mind at rest.
Yes. Do you have a favorite brand?
I don't.
Or just any? Okay.
Yep, just any that turns on and works.
Right. Okay.
Has good
I'll find
reviews
one
on
and post
Amazon.
it. Yes, I'll find one and kind of research a little bit and see which one gets high reviews and post one just kind of to see. Anything that the guests recommend can be found on comeoverfordinner.com. There's a page called Shop, and it just shows all the different favorite items from all of the guests. And so it's really fun to be able to just get an idea of what people recommend. Not that you have to buy their particular thing, but they've used it and it's kind of tried and true. That's their favorite item in the whole kitchen. They really love it. So I really enjoy. I have a Christmas wish list,
Okay.
built up after hearing week after week everyone's favorite items. Like, oh, what? I don't have that or that, and I have never heard of that. It's very fun. So do you have a funny story from your years of hospitality? Do you have anything that stands out from all of your hosting days?
Well, when we started doing our weekly sisters dinner, I very quickly took on the mantle of planning the meals and making them, and Laura Beth very quickly took on the role of cleaning, and that worked out very well. But I was really excited because this was my one opportunity to try out fancy recipes that I wouldn't just on a normal, Wednesday or Friday. So I thought, this will be the time of the week that I try something I wanted to, and I'll have, test subjects that have to eat it. So,
by the way, what night do you do your sister's dinner?
It's Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Mm-hmm. So I look forward to it every week. You get to catch up with the sisters, but also try a new recipe.
To plan something and be looking forward to your new recipe creation.
Yes. So when we started doing this, I was pretty experimental, and I often wouldn't tell the sisters what food they were going to be eating until I set it in front of them. So we had some dishes that they were very skeptical about. I made the first fall that we started doing this, I made pumpkin mac and cheese. And
okay, that sounds weird.
it was very good, actually.
I'm imagining it being good. I would try it.
But the looks they were giving me as I was setting it down in front of them and telling them what they were having. I made a lot of mac and cheese variations. I made an artichoke mac and cheese. I really like artichokes, if you can't tell. At Christmas, our first year in this house, and our first year doing sisters dinner, Laura Beth and I wanted to make cranberry popcorn strings for our Christmas tree. And we totally overestimated how many bags of cranberries we needed.
How many did you buy?
We bought 3 bags.
That
we only
reasonable,
used like a third of a bag for our popcorn cranberry strings. Yes.
And it went around the whole tree?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I would have overestimated too.
Oh, yes.
Because it's been so many years since I did it.
So we had a lot of cranberries to use, and things got very experimental with cranberries around the holidays that year. And I don't think we had anything that was a major flop, but many, many meals, the sisters would kind of look up at me like, what is this food?
Mac and cheese?
I should have done that. We had cranberry pancakes. We had a cranberry beef stew.
That's interesting.
None of these things were terrible.
Did you just randomly throw it in, or did you really find a recipe that had
No,
it
for
in there?
all of these, I found recipes.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I was like, and they were all well reviewed, so I thought, this can't be terrible.
Somebody's secret ingredient.
Yes, but after that string of very experimental meals, I just started throwing out random random ideas to the sisters saying, well, okay, well, next week we'll be having this. And they wouldn't know whether to believe me or not.
Right.
But,
because they couldn't trust you because you had done cranberry beef stew or what was the other one? Something
cranberry pancakes.
Cranberry pancakes. That's more normal, you know. Cranberry pancakes is a little more normal. Oh, pumpkin mac and cheese. So if you said cranberry mac and cheese, they really were just very unsure.
They probably would have thought I was serious.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's great.
So I've dialed it back a little bit recently. We've been having more standard fare, but for a while there, I was trying all the experimental things.
You were experimenting on the sisters. Well, I feel like that's a good crowd to experiment on.
Yes. And if you ask them, they will say, well, actually, nothing was terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm sure it was delicious. It was probably something sold in a gourmet restaurant somewhere.
That's
where
right.
You pay lots and lots of money for it.
That's right. Fusion.
Tell them you're giving them some culture.
Exactly. Yes.
So tell me about these contests that y'all do, the siblings. Or does mom participate in them too? That like when you do the pizza cook-offs and the cinnamon roll cook-offs or whatever, does the whole family do it or just the siblings compete against each other?
I can't remember the last time we actually had a cook-off competition, but we talk about it a lot.
Okay. You're remembering the glory days.
Yes, because growing up, we did Friday night pizza night. And so my mom started that when we were really little. And she, perfected her pizza recipe. And to this day, she'll make it and it'll just take us right back to being little kids. But as we got older and she got busier and there were more of us, we kids started to learn how to make the crust and put together the pizza. And then we started finding our own ways of doing it and differentiating ourselves. And again, experimenting. I've gotten pretty experimental with what I put on pizza. George and I have hot debates about, do apples belong on pizza? Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Say yes to both, actually. I was in New York once and had really thin sliced apple on top of the pizza, and I don't remember what the other toppings were. It was absolutely delicious.
Yes.
I feel like you can put anything on top of a pizza if you do the right combos and the right sauce. I mean, obviously,
I agree.
I doubt that this pizza had a tomato-based sauce. It was probably more of a white sauce, but I could be wrong. I can't really remember. I just do remember the apples because I remember thinking I don't think I'd ever had apples on pizza before. It was fantastic.
Yes, especially when they're thinly.
Super thin, and it was, I believe, a green apple, so it had a little tart with maybe a sweet cheese, and I don't know, it was so good.
Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of apple trees around Moscow, and in the fall time, if you take walks, you'll just be walking along sidewalks and there's apples just on the ground. And so come fall, when I take walks, I carry an empty bag with me. And if there's apples in the middle of the street, I just pick them up and take them home.
Yeah.
And so that's something else experimental that I do is I cook with trash apples.
And have to figure out what variety it is.
Yeah, most of the time I have no clue, but they're always really good.
Oh, for sure.
But it was a couple years ago when I started cooking with trash apples. Everything I made was apple flavored. So we had apple pizza. Of course, we did applesauce. We did apple sausage breakfast hash, apple cake. So for a while there, my friends and family knew that if I was bringing food to something, it would be with trash apples.
Apples.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes, but the apple pizza, that's one that George and I have debated fiercely. And I actually invited him over for dinner once and didn't tell him what I was serving him. And I served him apples on pizza. That recipe is also really good. I know that's not the one we're talking about, but that one is like a cheddar bacon thyme apple pizza with a little bit of maple syrup drizzled over the top.
Okay, we need that recipe too, regardless of whether it's your main recipe. That sounds amazing.
So I made that for the first time with, apples that I foraged off of the street. And I thought it was really good. And that's what sparked the debate because I told him.
Okay, what did he think?
He begrudgingly admitted that he liked it. He probably would never make it. But
he begrudgingly ate piece after piece after piece. Just not so he wouldn't offend you and all. He ate 3, 4, 5 pieces.
So I can't remember the last time we've actually had everybody cooking off against each other making pizzas, but the siblings will all occasionally,
We'll talk about the
we'll talk about it. And then George has had me over and he's made pizza, and I've had him over and I've made pizza, and Laura Beth can make a good pizza. I think everybody can.
Mm-hmm. Your mom has done well.
Yes.
She has succeeded in her mission of passing the pizza torch.
Yes. So, yeah, that's something we all like to egg each other on about.
Yes. And what about cinnamon rolls? Do y'all make cinnamon rolls too? Because I thought he mentioned a cinnamon roll contest.
Oh, well, maybe that's something we should do.
Up and coming potentially.
Oh.
Like he just was, maybe he didn't mention cinnamon rolls. I thought he had something about y'all make cinnamon rolls.
Mom does have an excellent recipe, and Isabel is our resident baker. So when it comes to baked goods, sweets, she would probably win that bake-off.
She would win hands down.
Mm-hmm. But usually, like growing up, we'd have cinnamon rolls for holidays and birthdays, and Mom or Isabel will frequently still pull out that recipe for Christmas or somebody's birthday. So that's always something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
I haven't mastered the cinnamon rolls, but maybe that's the next thing I need to experiment with. Maybe we can add apples.
Add apples and don't tell George. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been so much fun, and I cannot wait to try these recipes. They sound delicious.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Until next time, bye for now.